Hey there, y'all. Rain here again. I thought today I'd change things up a little bit and give you a little bit of insight on me. I am a store manager for a game and comic shop. We all have our own little sections that we handle, and mine happens to be board games and TTRPGs. So, with that respect, I also handle the game night. Well, at least for TTRPGs. There's so many that we have running at the same time. But so for TTRPG night, I will make scenarios. Usually there's something very short. We only get about 2 hours to run these. And so one of these days, I decided, hmm, let's make something a little out of the box. I will make cattle rustling goblins. And the players will have to contend with these guys who are going to be lassoing up sheep and then trying to drag them off. Gives them several targets to engage with, has them with multiple points that they can engage with. They can try to stop the goblins themselves, get rid of the ropes, stop the horses, shouldn't just take away the sheep. There was so many options I was hoping they would engage with, lots of ways they could approach this. So, day of the one shot arrives, all my players show up. And by all, I mean two. For some reason, the other people that had said they were coming ended up canceling. So I had these two players. Now, I get lots of different interesting people all the time, and I love that. I get people from age 8 to age 80. It's everything in between. I am more than happy to teach anybody the game that I'm running. But so these two people are there, and so I give them the premise. I have them about 100 or so feet away from the main engagement point, and they will see this pillar of flame happening as the goblins have basically set a fire and were spooking the sheep out of the barn. Uh, and so the players rushed onto point, and then it took a turn. They decided that instead of going after the active group of, I think, 5 goblins on horseback who were actively catching sheep, that they were going to then skirt around this other building, grab onto one of the goblins, and use some form of charm. Trying to not give too much away here. Use some form of charm, and they just asked them, "Hey, do you have any drugs?" Now, I didn't know where this was going. I assumed that maybe they were trying to incapacitate people, so I went along with it. And so I said, "Sure, I guess they would have some. They're not prudes." And so then they asked if they could buy the drugs off this goblin. Again, you do your best to roll with things. You never know what you're going to get when you have people show up to these. So I said, sure, couple gold. They obviously have starting equipment and such. So they gave this goblin 3 gold pieces. I hand them off something to an equivalent of green smokable leaves. And then they say, okay, cool, you guys have a nice time, and walked away. They literally left these cattle rustling or sheep rustling goblins who were actively stealing to then leave, and then said, okay, so we're going to go to an inn or something and smoke this. Can you narrate what happened to that? And I, at that point, I was kind of aghast because I spent time making the scenario, making it so it was engaging, having these different little mechanics. Well, like, okay, this is what it is for them to get a sheep. This is how long it takes for them. It's a round or two, blah, 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 blah. And so then they said, okay, yeah, we're going to completely ignore the entire premise of why we're here so that you can do make believe drug trip. And so I'm going to point out this session is supposed to last about 2 hours. We're 35 minutes in. And so I just said, nope, you guys decided, close my book, pick up my notes, close my screen, and like, wait, you're not going to continue? I'm like, I prepared a session. Your solution was to ignore it. So that is the session. And I feel like there is a conversation to be had there about, while you are supposed to respect the players and their time. There's also this dichotomy of respect that you should give the DM. I proposed this game, people agreed to the premise of this game, and then they chose to ignore that premise. I feel at that point the social contract had been broken. So I was more than happy to say, you guys made your choice. You enjoyed 35 minutes of playtime. If you want to sit back here and describe to yourselves imaginary drugs, you are more than welcome to. And at that point, I picked up the rest of my stuff and I walked back to the front of the store. And which point my coworker was like, "Wow, that was fast. Did they catch fire or something?" I said, "Nope. They decided they wanted to do drugs." And at that point, she got concerned. I was like, "No, no, fictitious drugs. They decided to do drugs," and we all had a laugh about that. So that is one of the quickest one shots I've ever run, mainly because the players decided they were not interested in the topic, which fine for them. It just felt like a waste of my time. On that note, I'm hoping you guys would have enjoyed this story. And if you'd like to hear more stories in the future, I will happily tell them. I have a plethora of stories from running these games. And as a special incentive, if I can ever get to 100 subscribers, I will tell you about the biggest red flag player I've ever had in my life. The one that I looked at and said, you should have been a no at the start. Uh, this is a story that I've told a few times. It is one that I want to teach people just to learn from my mistakes. But yes, if I can ever get to 100 subscribers, I will tell the story about Angel Dude. On that note, please like, comment, subscribe. Maybe you can mention those one shots you've participated in that have gone so awry. And thank you for listening to me ramble on for a second. Uh, if you'd like to hear more of these stories, please mention it. And thanks for listening. Hope you guys can tell some better tales. Bye.